All right, well, the situation in, of course, West Asia is escalating. We have retaliatory strikes coming from Iran and, of course, attacks from Israel and the U.S. Now, a new report says that the CIA is now contacting Iraqi Kurds to raid or incite a insurgents in Iran. Of course, now to discuss this, we are now being joined by Dr. Afner Cohen, professor of non-proliferation and terrorism studies in his Millbury Institute, and he's joining us from Ontario in California. Thank you so much for joining us. Always a pleasure having you on the broadcast. Now, this is the report that we know, and they say that Trump has now held talks with President of the Democratic Party of Iran in Kurdistan. So we don't see boots on ground, but then we do see that the U.S. is trying to contact Kurdish forces to act on their behalf to bring about a regime change, aren't we?
Yeah, in fact, there is a big background for that. As you know, there are 40 million, nearly 40 million Kurds in 4 countries. This is the largest ethnic minority that never got a state of its own in Iran, in Iraq, in Syria, in Turkey. And they've been in touch with Israelis and Americans for some times. And indeed, there are some forces of Kurdish origin who have been fighting the Iranians. And they're about apparently to start an onslaught. And indeed, it was reported that Israel in the last 2 days actually bombed the Revolutionary Guard positions in the Iraq-Iran borders to remove them and to allow to start of this onslaught. We'll see what will happen. But yes, so one can see situations that even though there no, as of now, American Israeli boots on the ground, others will start to have something on the ground.
And talking about, as you mentioned, because the Kurdistan, when we look at population, there's 18 million in Turkey, there's 2 million in Syria, 5 million in Iraq, and of course 8 million in Iran. When we talk about spilling of this whole conflict, do you think this will actually spill and move westward? And do you think would Turkey and Syria be reacting to this kind of approach by U.S. to the Iraqi Kurds?
Well, it creates. I mean, this is not going to topple the regime in Tehran. That's obvious. But that would be a pressure on the regime. That would be, as you know, there is a semi-autonomous region in Iraq, which is run and governed by the Kurds. It is part of Iran. They have not demanded to be a state. They have not separated, but it is a state-like kind of entity. And as I see it, I think that the Kurdish Iranians would like to do the same. How far it could go, and there was a lot of low level of fighting with Iranians over recent times. Now, with help from the outside, from the air by Israelis and possibly the U.S., but primarily the Israelis, they're trying to make this major push into Iran. We'll see how it will go. It's difficult to say. It's not a major troops. Apparently, their size is 1,000, not much larger than that.
Right. And when we look at regime change at this point of time, of course, this is Iran being at war, and they, of course, have statements. We see statements coming out from Iran where they say that we haven't even unleashed or started the attacks, that we haven't even used our weapons yet. And on the other hand, the U.S. is also ready for these attacks. Do you think this is escalating? And how do you assess Iran's statements coming at this point where they also need to look for a successor, and at the same time, they're also continuing with the attacks and still saying that they have more left?
Yeah. Apparently, successor has been made, even though it's not officially announced. It's the son of Khamenei, the president who was assassinated by Israel. He is in his 50s. He is a middle-level cleric. And the story goes that the Assembly of Experts already has chosen him to be the next supreme leaders. So obviously, Iran would like to keep, as much as possible, the image that there is a continuity in governance. And even though some people were taken, were assassinated, were removed, others will replace them.